Now, there were some surprising revelations from the head of ASIO, that's our largest domestic intelligence agency, in a speech last night. You would have heard a bit about it in the news today. Now, he revealed that ASIO had disrupted a plot to interfere in our democracy. It involved a so-called puppeteer who's a wealthy individual with deep ties to a foreign government. Now, the country wasn't named, but it's widely believed to be China, of course. Here's more of those ASIO revelations.
The employer hired by the puppeteer began identifying candidates likely to run in the election who either supported the interests of the foreign government or who were assessed as vulnerable to inducements and cultivation. The employer used existing relationships with politicians, staffers and journalists to select potential targets without revealing the secret intent, the foreign connection or the puppeteer's involvement.
Amazing stuff, isn't it? So this has flushed out the elephant in the room of the election campaign, the China debate, and the constant kowtowing to China we've heard from Labor luminaries like Paul Keating and Bob Carr. Defence Minister Peter Dutton was pretty blunt about this in question time.
We now see evidence, Mr Speaker, that the Chinese Communist Party, the Chinese government, has also made a decision about who they're going to back in the next federal election, Mr Speaker. Now, that's open. That is obvious, Mr Speaker. Mine is a reflection on the Chinese government, the actions of the Chinese government, Mr Speaker, and that is the context in which I made the comment, and it is perfectly in order. It might be uncomfortable for those opposite, but it is perfectly in order.
Well, as you saw, Labor were up in arms, but you can expect more of this. Let me bring in Nationals Senate Leader Bridget McKenzie. Senator, thanks for joining us. Do you reckon Beijing is backing Labor?
Great to be with you, Chris. Well, I think what Dutton made very, very clear today in the House was that we as a government take foreign interference incredibly seriously. I think the speech by Mike Burgess overnight, the head of ASIO, clearly outlines the risk and that we need to take this threat seriously from foreign actors. It's extremely concerning. We've seen it happen overseas, interference in elections in free societies such as Australia, and the worst outcome would be that it happens here and that it happens at a federal level at the next upcoming election.
But do you believe, as Peter Dutton suggested, that Beijing is backing Labor?
Well, I know that Beijing isn't backing a government that holds them to account, which we do. We have been very, very clear in the way we've positioned Australia as a sovereign nation through the COVID recovery. We've been very, very clear on our forward posture on protecting our industries such as agriculture who've our barley producers, etc.
Yeah,
our wine
there's a lot of pain being inflicted by China. Yeah, and also
absolutely.
Look,
and so we're not.
Sorry to interrupt, but when you look at what the ASIO chief Mike Burgess said, and then you look back at some of the controversies we've seen, in particular with Senator Sam Dastyari and the way he was obviously being Duchessed, is it not feasible for the public to draw links between China and Labor, given what Mike Burgess said, even though he didn't mention a country, a state or a party?
Well, I would like to think that all sides of politics put the national interest first. We're in an incredibly fragile geopolitical situation at the moment, and that is continuing within our region. We don't need to point our finger at anyone in particular. It's all quite clear. I would like to see Labor a lot more forward-leaning into this space. I think, we as a government have made no bones about making sure we keep our communities safe and that we prioritise defence spending, that we prioritise spending on a raft of measures across the intelligence spectrum, for instance, which Mr Burgess oversees, to ensure that we protect our national interest. And, I think Labor has been incredibly silent on this particular issue. And if you, again, look at their past, they don't have a great track record, whether it's Bob Carr, whether it's Paul Keating or former Senator Dastyari.
I want to put you a follow-up question after Grace Tame's vicious smear against the Prime Minister yesterday, where she used the alleged phone call of an unnamed person from an unnamed group and somehow linked that to what she believed the Prime Minister might be thinking about power and elections. She hasn't come forward with any more information, a name, an organisation. Is it incumbent upon her to do so?
Well, that's up to Ms Tame at the end of the day. I think we as a government under the Prime Minister have made it very clear when these revelations have come to light. We undertook a comprehensive review of workplace culture here at Australia Parliament House, led by Kate Jenkins.
Sorry. I know that's important, but I've been there before. But this is about the allegation that Grace Tame says she was bullied, and she linked that back to the Prime Minister, but she won't say who made the call, what organisation they came from. I mean, unless she can put some sort of detail into the public arena, what are we to make of that slur?
Well, I think the Minister responsible, Senator Ruston, was very, very clear this morning with her comments. She's happy to have a look at this and investigate it further. But that's really a decision for Ms Tame to actually come forward, let us know, even in a confidential manner, who this organisation is, who the people are, and then we can deal with it. But until she does, that's really nothing more we can do. I'm very proud to be part of a government that's actually dealing with the problem in a very practical way, which we did even this afternoon in the Senate by passing some significant legislation to set up those structures that the Jenkins review outlined. So, you know, if you're going to pick up a stone and throw it, I suggest that Ms Tame, if she really wants this dealt with, contact Senator Ruston, who's made that open invitation to her, and have the matter dealt with.
Yep, I would agree wholeheartedly. Thanks for joining us, Senator.
Always. Thanks, Chris.
Senator Bridget McKenzie there. Look, I think Grace Tame, anybody, if you're going to throw these allegations and make them so personal about a person who wasn't even involved in an alleged conversation, you've got to have some detail. You've got to make it stack up. Otherwise, it's a cheap slur, isn't it? A cheap and unaccountable slur. So hopefully some more information will come to light. Or, if there's no information, withdraw the slur.